Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Yeager, and I lead the transfer team here in undergraduate admission. And really thank you for taking the time to join us for our session today. So today's topic is going to focus on the transfer application process here at Emerson. So we're first going to give you an overview of the kinds of documents that you'll need to submit in order to complete your file. Then we're going to go to the credit evaluation process, and then we're going to talk about things like deadlines for scholarships and financial aid. And we'll definitely have time to answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So if you could hold those till the end, that would be great. Now I just wanted to introduce you to the other people on the team. Molly, who just spoke, is a member of our transfer team. And then we have two other people here today that I'd like you to meet. So Nick, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. And first and foremost, welcome to our first webinar of the season, our transfer application and credit evaluation workshop. We hope you're going to find a lot of useful information during this session today. So my name is Nick Washburn, Associate Director of Transfer and Veteran Recruitment. I've worked at Emerson now for Gulp 8 years and 5 days. I just checked. I primarily work with transfer students east of the Mississippi. I mentioned that Lisa, who just spoke, tends to work with transfer students west of the Mississippi. So you might be familiar more with one of us than the others, but we're excited to have you here today. And we're both, along with our entire transfer team, willing and able and happy to answer any questions. So with that said, I would love to turn it over to Rebecca, our newest transfer outreach ambassador.
Thank you so much, Nick. Hi, I am Rebecca. I am the transfer ambassador within our team. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today to help answer any of you guys' questions. I am a major within Business of Creative Enterprise here at Emerson College, so I'm super excited to have answer any of your guys' questions and look forward to this today's presentation. So thank you. I'm going to give it right back to Lisa.
Okay. Okay, so let's just jump right in. One of the many things that I love about working with transfer students, and I think I could speak for the rest of the team, that collectively you all are just a very interesting and really unique group of students to work with. Some of you go to community colleges, others attend four-year colleges, public and private. Some of you have taken a few courses already at your community college or private college or public college. Others have completed an associate's degree. And then you have another group that have taken some time off after high school, but now want to return and complete a bachelor's degree. So there's a lot of different paths that you can take to get to Emerson. And our team really wants to help you explore all the opportunities that would be here for you at Emerson College. So first of all, I want to talk about how we define a transfer student, because this can vary from school to school. So for Emerson, a transfer who is anyone who has completed or who has already gone to a school and enrolled full-time. Or in another case, if you've graduated from high school and attended college part-time, but earned 9 credits or more, you would apply as a transfer at Emerson. However, if you are a dual enrolled student, so you're still in high school, but you're taking college courses, in this situation, you would apply as a new first-time student. So for this upcoming cycle, 2025, 2026, we will accept transfer applications for both spring 26 and fall 26. For most of our majors, there's a couple exceptions. One is performing arts, another is comedic arts, and then media psychology. So those majors are only open for fall terms only. In addition, our interdisciplinary studies, which we call for short IDS, um, prefers that students apply in the fall term. However, they will consider students for spring term, but they have to review your earned college credits first. So in this case, if you, especially with IDS, there's a credit limit of 48 credits. So in those situations, you would reach out to Nick or myself or Molly, and we can connect you with that department and for further discussion. The only other major that has a credit limit for transfer students is comedic arts, and they will allow you to apply as long as you have 32 credits or less. And the other thing I wanted to mention is our global BA and global BFA programs. They're currently only open to freshman applicants and not transfer applicants at this time, but all the other majors are open to transfer students. And then another thing that a lot of students ask me right up front is our acceptance rate for transfer students. So this can vary year to year. It can vary term to term. But typically the acceptance rate for transfers at Emerson is 53% to 61%. Okay, so applications. Students ask me all the time, which ones should I use? I don't know, what's better? It really doesn't matter to us. I can give you the differences. So the Transfer Common App, I would say, is probably the most common application that we receive. It is a longer application. There'll be short answers. There will be multiple essays. It's a lot more involved. However, the benefit of that is if you're applying to multiple colleges, you finish it, submit, and it goes out to all of your colleges. And so it's very efficient that way. If Emerson is your top school and you really, just want Emerson, the Emerson app is probably more efficient for you. It's a shorter application. There's, I think, one essay and a couple short answers and a few other pieces of information we need from you. But it is a shorter app. So, but obviously it just comes to us. And then we have a reactivation form. And if you applied as a transfer within the last year, you had a complete file. You can go to our transfer application page, and if you scroll all the way down, you'll see the reactivation form listed there. And it's basically you click it and go to the form. It's a one-page form. The only thing that we would need is an updated college transcript. You could send other things if you have a new professor that you wanted to send an evaluation from, that would be fine. If you wanted to add activities, anything like that from the previous application, you can send those in as well. But really, it's the updated college transcript that we would need. Okay, so required admission documents. We just talked about the application. The writing supplement, that is on the Common App as well as the Emerson app. So basically, it's a little more information about you and a couple short answers that you have to write about. The transcripts. So we need a final official high school transcript or a GED. And these documents, this is really important. It can't be sent by a student and be considered official. So you would have to have these documents sent from your high school or the granting organization. They need to have the date of graduation And in the high school instance, it has to be signed. And so that would be an official transcript. For your college transcripts, you would go to the registrar's office and request an official transcript be sent to us. If your high school or college works with a third-party organization like Parchment or eScripts, we will take those as official. And so the registrar's office would send it to admission@emerson.edu. So that's the email that you would request the transcript to be sent to Emerson with. If your high school, and this does happen once in a while, the high school or college, they don't have a way to send it electronically, then you would have to send it via the mailing address. And I can just give that to you. It's Emerson College, Office of Undergraduate Admission, 120 Boylston Street, Boston, Mass. 02116. I think now most schools they have the ability to send it electronically, but you can send it in the mail. Okay, so activities or resume. So we're looking, as the admission committee, we're looking for a strong academic fit, but we also want to look at personal fit. So on the activity sheet or resume, we're looking for things that you've done outside the classroom. So if you've been involved with clubs or athletic teams or community service organizations, those are really important to add there. And you can add things that you did in high school. A lot of people don't know that. But we know that a lot of people have to work during college or have other responsibilities, but maybe we're a little more active in high school. So we allow all those things. So high school and college activities, anything that you've done outside of your college work. You can also include family responsibilities, any jobs you've had, things like that. But we just want to kind of know who you are outside of school. And then we have an academic evaluation. And some people get thrown by that wording, but it's basically a letter of recommendation. So we prefer that it comes from a current college professor, but we will accept a recommendation from an academic advisor at the school, a current employer, somebody that maybe you've worked as an intern. So any kind of professional that you've worked closely with, we'll take it from any of those people. An educational gap. So there are some people that maybe had a gap after high school, maybe worked for a while, or between colleges. A lot of students have started at one, maybe worked for a while or traveled, and then went to another college. So if you are, if you have had an experience like that, then you'll want to send us a brief explanation of what you were doing at that time. So, for example, some students do have to work for a while, or they travel. Maybe it's their time to travel and then get that out of their system and then go to college. Or there are quite a few people that intern during their educational gap. So anything like that, we would just need you to briefly tell us what you were doing. And then for some students, we will require and ask you for a midterm grade report. So especially if this is your first semester in college and you're applying for a spring term, we're not going to have any official grades because we'll need to make a decision before you actually get your grades in December. So in this particular case, we will ask for a midterm grade report. And what you can do is if this is your situation, just reach out to one of us and we'll send you a form And what you do is list your course and then your estimated grade. Usually students by mid-October, they kind of know what they're doing in the class and maybe a grade, an estimated grade at that point. So just send that back to us and we'll use that and put that in your file. For international students, so there is an English proficiency requirement. And so you'll need to submit an English proficiency test if you have not completed 3 years of consecutive study at a high school or college that teaches in English. So if you do come from a country or a high school or college that has taught you in English, then you can complete a waiver for the English proficiency. And you would find that in your portal after you submit your application. And then we do have, it depends on your major, but a few of our majors require a creative sample or an artistic review. So Nick will talk about that in a few minutes. But in some of those majors, it's required. So you won't get an admission decision until you submit that part of the application. And just one other thing about the complete file, a lot of schools require the Common App College Officials Report. We do not. So you do not have to submit that at all. Just wanted to throw that out there. But Rebecca, I have a question for you, and maybe you can help students understand how you went through the admission process and think back. And do you have any tips on how you efficiently went through the process, getting your documents together, or maybe who you asked for a recommendation, things like that. If you can give some tips to the students, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much, Lisa. So, within my application process, I, of course, started early. It's best to start early with any application that you have done for any of your colleges. So that way you're able to get your letter of recommendation early. I reached out to my professors that I had worked closely within my classes. I also worked with one of my internships during my time within my community college, as well as my club advisor within my community college as well too with my film industry. So I was able to get quite a few different range. So not only academic, professional, as well as within the field of study, like filmmaking. So that's kind of how I receive those three different letter recommendations. It is best to receive those early. So send them the information. I sent them my portfolio, my resume, anything about me. So that way they can kind of formulate a letter to be pretty much brag about you. Pretty much. Another thing with the application process is the questions, making sure that you're answering them to the best of your ability. This is your time to showcase to the admission team more about you. So make sure it's grammatically correct. If you got to see a tutor, I highly recommend that you do so. I did it. Make sure everything is as perfect as you want it to be within your application. So that's kind of a few tips that I will give you guys students within this application process. Handing it over back to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Rebecca. Nick, I think you're next.
All right. So as Lisa mentioned, several of our majors require some artistic reviews or creative samples as part of the application process. So I did want to kind of talk through those a little bit with you, and starting out with our comedic arts program. So comedic arts, as Lisa mentioned, along with performing arts, is only open to fall term enrollment. So just a reminder there, along with media psychology. So it is required that when students are applying to our comedic arts program, that they submit a creative sample. Now, this could be anything from a video to a script. It could be a podcast. It could even be you doing stand-up. This is actually my new favorite major when reading applications, because students will occasionally submit 5 to 10 minutes of themselves doing stand-up, which is fantastic. So what we would encourage you to do here, and the department would encourage you to do, is to show off your comedic talents, but in the way that makes the most sense for your area of interest, right? So you could go into comedic arts and you could focus on writing, performing, or production. So which area of that are you interested in? Are you more interested in writing? Then submitting, say, a script would make sense. But if you want to be a stand-up, go ahead and submit that, that video of you doing a stand-up routine. Our performing arts department also has additional requirements for students applying. So every major within performing arts, students are required to complete an accepted artistic application. So this is in addition to the traditional application that you're submitting, those materials that Lisa talked about on the past slides. So you'll complete an accepted application. Through accepted, you'll then have the opportunity to submit things like your pre-screen. Our musical theater does require a pre-screen. If you get through the pre-screen, you then have your welcome to audition. For students that are in, say, theater and performance, or theater education and performance, there's no pre-screen. You just will sign up for the audition. Again, you're doing this through accepted. For students who are off stage, so if you're like theater or theater education, then you would be doing an interview along with the accepted application. I should also mention as well, with the accepted application, students will submit a resume and headshot. And those backstage majors, like stage and production management, or theatrical design and production, require that students perform a portfolio, or submit a portfolio, excuse me, as well as participate in an interview. So a couple of things there to keep in mind as you're going through the process of applying to performing arts. Again, March 2nd is the priority deadline for comedic arts and performing arts. And the reason for that is because we have this kind of dual evaluation that takes place on the admission side and then on the departmental side. And then within our media arts production major, it's encouraged but not required that you submit a creative sample. And what we would suggest here is that you, again, align this with your area of interest. So within media arts production, you have 12 different specializations, everything ranging from animation and motion media to directing narrative fiction to writing for film and television. So if there's a particular area that you find that you're drawn to, so for example, I have an MFA in writing for film and television from Emerson. So for me, that would have been my specialization in an area that I would have focused on. So it would behoove me applying to maybe submit a script or screenplay. If you're more interested in directing or editing, then maybe it is a short film that you've put together. All right, I think we can go on to the next slide. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about these deadlines. We've talked a teeny bit about this priority deadline, March 2nd, so I want to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive there. But to start with, let's look at the most upcoming, if we will, deadlines. Emerson does accept transfer students into the spring semester. As we noted, performing arts, comedic arts, and media psychology, unfortunately, are not open for spring term enrollment. However, any of those other programs are. So you have the opportunity to apply for the spring, with our priority deadline being November 3rd, with our last decision release typically is right around like the December 2nd, somewhere around there. It is a pretty quick turnaround time when we get to the spring semester, so we do encourage you to apply sooner rather than later, so that way if we do require, say, a midterm grade report, or we need a gap explanation or something like that, that we give you that time in order to get that to us so an application review can take place, as well as you get all the information that you need to make your decision, given that shortened time frame. Our main kind of big priority deadline, if you will, is in March 2nd. Again, this is where if you're applying for performing arts or for comedic arts, you want to make sure that you're submitting your application by this deadline, because we do need that extra time with those departmental reviews. March 2nd is also a transfer priority scholarship deadline. Now, Lisa's going to talk about this a little bit more, but we have two scholarships that are newer that do require students, they're limited capacity, I should say. So they're not guaranteed scholarships, so they do require a scholarship committee review. So for a couple of those, which are full tuition, very competitive scholarships, you do need to have your application completed by March 2nd. For any of those other scholarships, they work more on a rolling basis. So just something to kind of keep in mind as well as you're going through this process. For any of our students, we recommend March 2nd, that priority deadline, as the date to submit your application, because again, it just gives you a little bit more time if you need additional information, if you need to connect with us, anything like that. March 3rd through July 17th is our rolling transfer deadline. So the final deadline for Emerson with our rolling admissions is July 17th. But between March 3rd and July 17th, any major, excluding performing arts and comedic arts, can complete their application. As they complete, we will review them. And typically students are going to receive information regarding their credit evaluations and scholarships within a short amount of time after receiving their decision. Additionally, June 1st is our kind of traditional deposit deadline for transfer students. So it's important to note that if you apply for fall right now, or let's say in January, February, and you get your mid-March, you get your decision letter, that congratulates you on being accepted into the fall semester, it's going to have a deposit deadline of June 1st. That's the date that you want to let us know that you're planning on attending. But we do want to make sure you have all the information you need. So your credit evaluation, your financial aid package, information about scholarships, all of that stuff. Now, if you are for the spring, because it doesn't have more of that traditional sort of kind of time frame, it is a quicker turnaround time. So you have 2 weeks to submit your deposit. You'll have a specific deposit deadline within your acceptance letter. And then for students after June 1st that are applying for the fall, it will be a similar situation as well, where you'll have a specific deposit deadline. So, because you may ask, well, if the deposit deadline is June 1st, but I apply in mid-June, how do I meet the deposit deadline? Well, you don't. You'll have another one 2 weeks out from that. So, Lisa, anything I missed there when it comes to deadlines?
No, I think it's great. You did it all. Okay, so I think one of the things that we all really find very rewarding is reading your applications. And I just want to tell you that our team uh, really reads everything that you submit. And, you've put a lot of heart and soul into your application. So, we take it very seriously. We take a holistic approach in our evaluation process. One of the first things we do is we look at your academic performance. So we look at all of your college work, but we really zero in on your most current college work. That's what's most important to us. We look at what your evaluator has to say, or some people you only need one, but some people send a couple. So we read all of those. I think it's important when you're selecting a teacher or an advisor to write a letter of recommendation. They know you in the classroom. Do you show up? Are you engaged? Do you ask questions? Things like that. But do they know you outside the classroom? So a lot of students will give their recommender a resume. So it can be a more complete recommendation. But we zero in on those. Again, the personal fit. So what have you done outside the classroom? So, you want that resume. And specifically, we're looking for things like your deep involvement, maybe leadership, maybe some of them are major related activities. So we look at those things as well. And, since we're a communication school, I think Rebecca alluded to this. Communication in writing is something that we look at. So take some time, with your essays and your short answers because they play a big role in our evaluation process. Okay, so financial aid and scholarships. One of the things I wanted to mention is that you can be looked at for merit aid, which is from our office, and need-based aid, which is from the financial aid office. So the transfer scholarships or merit-based aid, we have scholarship opportunities for community college students as well as students coming from four-year schools. Our larger transfer scholarships are typically earmarked for students enrolling in fall terms. That's because of the way colleges have their funding models. They have a little bit more to give in the fall, but we do have students applying for the spring, and they are considered for institutional scholarships. So just because you're applying in the spring, you will be considered for those as well. And just so you know, there are some schools where you have to apply for transfer scholarships. At Emerson, you will be automatically considered. Now, Nick alluded to a couple of the new transfer scholarships. And this information is new. I mean, it's really hot off the presses. It's not on our webpage yet. It will be in the next couple of days. But we're very excited because this year we have two new guaranteed transfer scholarships that are pretty significant. The first one is called the Commonwealth Transfer Scholarship. It's going to be starting this next fall 26, and it will be guaranteed to any Massachusetts community college student who has earned an associate's degree and at least a 3.0 GPA. So the Commonwealth Transfer Scholarship is $40,000 a year guaranteed, $20,000 per semester, as long as you maintain a 3.0 GPA while you're at Emerson. So that's the first one. That is a guarantee. The second one is called the New Chapter Scholarship, and that is guaranteed to any community college student outside of Massachusetts who has earned an associate's degree and has at least a 3.0 GPA. This is a $30,000 scholarship, 15 per semester, as long as you maintain the 3.0. So again, those are the only guaranteed scholarships we have, but there are multiple others that people from four-year schools and community colleges can be considered for. So I would say in the next week or so, make sure you go to the transfer webpage, and it's financial aid and scholarship page that you'll see all of the different scholarships that we offer for new first-time and transfer students. If you receive a scholarship, you will see that in your acceptance letter. Turning now to financial aid or need-based funds. So sometimes students will get scholarships, but they'll also receive need-based funds. So just keep that in mind. The financial aid office, they are the ones that determine the need-based aid. To be considered for financial aid at Emerson, students have to submit a FAFSA, and you're probably all familiar with that. There are a few other documents that might be requested. So they're going to do an official first review. If they think they need anything else to aid them in their review, things like previous tax returns, non-custodial parent forms, they will request that. And they'll automatically add that to your financial aid checklist in your portal. So along with admission, we have an admission checklist, and every time a document is received, you'll see a green check. Same with financial aid. It's in your same portal, but if they add something or we receive something, you'll be notified. The financial aid deadlines, as you can see, spring 26 is November 14th, fall 26 priority is March 6th, and if you're applying for fall 26 rolling, it's April 6th. As Nick alluded, the spring 26 is a really tight time frame. So financial aid packages are released on a rolling basis. You might get your admission first and then your financial aid. Sometimes they're together, but just know that financial aid typically is on a rolling basis, and fall as well. And as I mentioned before, packages sometimes do include scholarships and or need-based aid. The only other thing I wanted to mention here is that students, after they get their financial aid package, they do have the ability to appeal for more funds. So, if you could use a little more help, it doesn't hurt to ask. And typically you would contact your counselor and they can help you through the process on how to do that. Anything else, Nick, do you think we need to mention here?
The only thing that I'll note is those there's a couple of those full tuition scholarships that have that March 2nd priority deadline. For those scholarships, you likely won't hear at the time of receiving your decision letter if you've been awarded that, because that requires a scholarship committee review. Those tend to be released a little bit later, so late March, early April, sometime around there. So just because if you get your decision letter and you are eligible for one of those full tuition scholarships, it doesn't mean you didn't necessarily receive it. Those tend to come out a little bit later and not at the same time as your decision letter. But outside of that, I think you've got everything.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about credit evaluations. We know the way credits transfer is a huge part of the process for transfer students. So we have a couple of tools to help you as you're going through the transfer process. So first and foremost, we utilize Transferology. For those of you who aren't familiar with Transferology, it is a platform that you can sign up for. It's free for students. And basically you can log into this. You can add the courses that you've taken at your current institution, a past institution. You can add the courses that you're looking to take to see how those might transfer into Emerson. One of the really cool factors about Transferology is that it gives you the ability to request to have courses looked at. So for example, if there's a course that you're taking at, say, the Community College of Rhode Island that has never been evaluated before since we've had Transferology, it won't be in the system. Transferology is manually updated by our registrar's office, so it's not going to be an exhaustive list. So know that just because you don't see a course on there doesn't mean that it's not going to transfer through, but you can ask to have these courses evaluated, which is really great. So then our registrar's office will take a look at that. They'll update Transferology with that information for you to see. What it also does is then allows that course to be in the system for any future students who have that same sort of question. So we highly recommend utilizing Transferology to help determine kind of what those courses coming in might look like ahead of time. Now, once you apply, and if you're admitted, you're going to receive an official credit evaluation, typically within 7 to 10 days of getting your admission decision. Now, this is going to give you a breakdown, and we'll look at a sample copy on the next slide, but it's going to break down the course, the number of credits, and the type of credit essentially or category that your course is coming in for. So it's going to let you know your number of credits, what that means for your class standing, as well as, again, those courses you've already completed, how they're coming into Emerson. Now, it's important to note that at Emerson, we accept a maximum of 64 credits from a 2-year or community college, with a max number of 80 credits coming in, whether that's a combination of a 2-year, 4-year, and test or exam credits, or it's all from 4-year, or it's a combination of a 2-year community college and test credit. So what I mean by that is we can accept up to 32 credits through test exams. So that could be AP, IB, CLEP. So keep that in mind as well. Those are definitely things that are worth submitting. That could be in addition to, if you are coming from a community college, those 64 credits. So you'll get to see exactly what your standing is at the moment the credit evaluation is completed. It's important to note that Emerson is on a 4-credit system. So if you're coming from a community college, likely, unless it was a lab science, those courses were worth 3 credits. So while that course doesn't become a 4-credit course, what it does is complete, say, a requirement. So for example, if you take writing 1 at your community college and it's 3 credits, that will come in typically for our writing 1 course at Emerson. That's a 4-credit. You would have to make up that difference at some point during your time at Emerson, but you can fulfill those requirements. In order to be considered for transfer, a course needs to have a grade of a C or better. If it's listed as a pass or fail, the registrar's office will look at the transcript key on the back of the transcript. If that lists a pass as a D or higher, what we would need from you then is a grade clarification from the registrar's office or the professor, indicating that your grade was the equivalent of a C or higher. The other thing to note is that our registrar's office is very much willing to work with you. So if you have questions about your credit evaluation, you can reach out to them specifically at transfercredit@emerson.edu. One of the most common questions that we get is students will look at their credit evaluation. They'll be enrolled in, say, spring classes, and they'll say, well, none of my spring classes are on here. I'm not getting credit for an entire semester's worth of classes. And they start to panic a little bit. Well, that's not the case. It's a matter of our registrar's office can only evaluate courses that have final grades. So once you get that final transcript, you want to submit that, and then they can update your credit evaluation with your new kind of a credit number. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, next. I tried to do that myself by clicking the button and it didn't work. So here we have an example of a credit evaluation that you might receive from Emerson. So I know it's a little bit small. On the left side of the screen, it says transferred course. It lists that course name. In the middle, it lists the number of credits that transferred. And then on the right-hand side, it says the type of credit. So for example, if I squint close enough, I can probably read this. Says English Comp 1 transferred in, it received 3 credits, and it came in for our Writing 1 foundation course. So you can kind of see here how it's going to lay out the courses that you've completed. Now, there is a situation where if you see some of these on the right-hand side, there's no type of credit listed. That means that's coming in for a free elective. At Emerson, students' curriculums are broken into 2 areas. So you have liberal arts courses that make up about 40% of the curriculum. Every student, regardless of major, is going to complete those liberal arts courses. That is where most of your transfer credits do come in, though I'll acknowledge that. And so what you'll then do is you have the other 60%, which is major, minor, and free electives. And so you have a certain number of free electives that you need to complete, and that's where, so if you see that there's a free elective, it's not a wasted credit. You have some of those that you need to complete. Now, if it says syllabus required for review, that typically is something requested if it's a major specific course, or if the course description online isn't satisfactory for our registrar's office to determine the equivalency. So you might see that in some instances where they will request a syllabi for review of multiple courses. Now, any major specific courses, we recommend that you hang on to those syllabi because there's a likely chance that they will be requested. So definitely make sure you hang on to those. For any past courses, try to collate those, put them in a folder. For any upcoming courses, grab those as well. And if you don't have it for whatever reason, you can reach out to the professor or even the registrar's office to request that syllabi for those particular courses. The other thing that I do want to note is that every transfer student, when they come into Emerson, will have a transfer specific advisor that's going to help them through the process of registering for their courses. This is also an individual that you really should do some kind of pre-planning in your head beforehand. So if you want to participate in something like Emerson Los Angeles, or you want to do an education abroad program, that you come to this meeting with the transfer advisor saying, hey, these are some things I would like to take advantage of or accomplish while I'm at Emerson. And that's a great way to sort of start that conversation and build that path forward for you. And then once, typically, I think it's the first semester or two, and Rebecca, you might be able to speak to this, that you'll have that transfer advisor within our academic advising center, and then you transition over to a faculty advisor to kind of, as you get more into those upper level type courses. Does that sound right, Rebecca?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, fantastic. So Rebecca, actually, while I made you unmute yourself. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what your kind of the credit evaluation experience was like for you?
Yeah, I can definitely speak upon that. So once you pretty much make all your transfer evaluation, you receive this form, and you speak to your transfer advisor in the beginning will be Lakeisha, for most all the transfer students when you come in, and after that, after 2 semesters or so, you will switch over to your faculty within your specific major. So that's who will take over your evaluation for your major courses. But when you first come in, Lakeisha will be your advisor. And like Nick just spoke, please make sure you come in there prepared. It's very important. You only have 30 minutes with Lakeisha, so you definitely want to make sure that if you're anything that's like priority within your time here at Emerson, let her know. So from study abroad, if you want certain courses, if you want, like, if you're having a job or you have like a part-time job, you want to make sure your classes are flexible with that. So like have a list of different notes that you're ready to go. So that way the meeting can kind of move quickly and based off your own standards away here at Emerson. But at the end of the day, we're here to support you. So we want to make sure that your schedule fits within what you want to accomplish here at Emerson. So definitely be prepared within that. Now remember, certain classes as well too, depending on your major, can only be given at certain times. So there is some flexibility with certain classes, so please be mindful of that as well too. Um, and then also another thing as well is to pretty much repeat as well too is to make sure you save those syllabus as well too. These are very important just in case they do request that. So just keep a folder like Nick just told you, keep it on your computer and then have that ready to go. Um, those are kind of a few tips that I had utilized while I was my time at Emerson. So hopefully that can also help you guys as well.
Nick, can I just add one or two more things
Of course.
as far as credits? So some people forget, I mean, if they took an AP class in high school and they got a 4 or 5, you definitely should reach out to College Board and have an official transcript sent to Emerson, either with the application process or if you admitted, just make sure you do that because that could be additional credits that could be added to your list of credits that you need. Also, if you were dual enrolled in high school, and it's not a school that you're attending right now, have that school send an official transcript. So as many credits as you can get from those areas, you just don't forget those. Just wanted to mention that.
No, that's a great point, Lisa. And I do want to just also call out another part of this credit evaluation, which kind of leads to something that we like to bring up for transfer students. So you can hopefully see it says your estimated class standing is sophomore on here with your total credits transferred as 62, it looks like. So at Emerson, junior standing is 64 credits. So in this instance, I don't see the date on this necessarily, but if this student was, say, in the middle of their spring semester, and then they updated it, they would potentially get to that 64 credits and then be junior standing. However, if this was the final transcript for spring, say, and they're at 62 credits, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so close to being a junior. I want to be a junior. Well, once you completed one course, you're going to be junior standing. The other thing to note is Emerson has what we call co-curricular activities. Co-curricular activities are a little bit more professional than, say, extracurriculars. But it allows students to get involved in things like the Evie Awards or the Emerson channel, and you dedicate a certain amount of time per semester. You can actually earn a free or non-tuition credit. Students can do this up to 4 times, so that equates to 1 full course. So that's a way for some of our transfers to make up a couple of credits as well, if they find that they've lost a couple because of that 3 to 4 credit changeover during the credit evaluation process. I think we can go to the next slide, please.
Okay, well, here is our team, and you've met most of us tonight, but we really want you to connect with us. Truly, truly mean that. We're here to help you through the process. We want to get to know you. So we have things like webinars. We'll have webinars throughout this cycle. We'll have one in November, and then we'll start again next term. We have virtual information sessions once a month. We have virtual meetings with the counselors. So if you have specific questions that you want answered in your particular situation, just sign up. You can sign up right on the transfer webpage, and we'd be happy to find a day and time that would work with you. Plus, you have the opportunity to talk with current students that came in as transfer students. So, they can tell you things like how are their classes? What about the teachers? How did they make friends? What extracurricular or co-curricular activities they're in? Those kinds of things that you really want to hear from a student as opposed to a counselor. So there you can sign up for a virtual meeting with our transfer ambassadors. We have campus tours. You can come. We would love to have you on campus. So you can sign up for an in-person or virtual campus tour. And for transfers, we have the opportunity to attend open houses, admitted student days. So there's a lot of ways to get to know us better. And we really want you to. So I guess that's really all that I wanted to talk about. Nick, do you want any parting words?
Well, I was going to see if we wanted to. We have a couple of minutes, so if there is anyone that had any burning questions, they could drop that in the Q&A. But as we kind of build that time to do so, I absolutely have some final and parting words I would love to provide. So I think for me, the phrase "we don't know what we don't know" is something that stands out. So your application is an opportunity not only to as Rebecca said, kind of humble brag. But it's an opportunity for you to explain and provide us with information that maybe we wouldn't necessarily see on a transcript. So this is something that Lisa and I have actually particularly seen over the last couple of years. And I'll use COVID as an example. So a lot of students, when they went from in-person to virtual, remote, asynchronous learning, it was a huge learning curve for them. They'd never been in that experience before, and you could see it across the board in students' grades that they dropped. Now, there's a pretty clear timeline of when people were remote and working asynchronously that we can also pick up on. But there's many different instances that we may not be aware of. We understand that education doesn't happen in a vacuum. So if there's something that you would like to provide an explanation or more context to us, we absolutely recommend that you do so, whether that's in the application, whether that's emailing us separately and just say, this was my first time taking an asynchronous course, and it was differential equations, and that's a difficult course enough, let alone asynchronously. So that sort of information we wouldn't know without you telling us. So please feel free to outreach and give us that insight into kind of what's going on in your life. We love to have that information, because the more information we have, the better we can understand you, and your goals, and help you that way. So that's kind of what I have to say. Rebecca, do you have? It doesn't look like we have any questions that have come in yet. So Rebecca, do you have a kind of final thought you'd like to share?
Yeah, so as a student myself, when applying to Emerson, I definitely would just say like just making sure that you take the time to look at application, just pretty much repeating what I said earlier. Make sure your letter recommendations, you get those things early. And also like showcase any of your skill sets. This is your time to shine. So just picking back on Nick. So same things, pretty much showcase if you want to shine within your application, within your portfolios as well too. Making sure you submit everything that is required and asked of. And then yeah, so I hopefully will see you guys, the applications and stuff like that come across for Lisa and Nick, and good luck on your application process.
I just want to put in a plug. We have an upcoming event. It's October 24th, and it's a call-in day just for transfer students. I mean, you can call in anytime, but this is a specific day if you have questions about anything. So it's Friday, October 24th from 2:30 to 4:30. Call us with your questions. One of us will help you with those. But again, you can call anytime or email us anytime. But that's a specific afternoon, that kind of like open office hours, that we really want to get to know you and answer your questions.
If I can, before we part ways, there was a question that came in. So Eric asked, what are the merit and need-based scholarships offered for students entering in the spring semester? So we're going to separate those two things out. So for need-based aid, you are going to be submitting the FAFSA, which will then prompt you to receive a financial aid package. Now, or need-based aid, the merit scholarships, you're automatically evaluated for when you apply. I did just drop in the chat a link to the current scholarship webpage. I made a note in there, but again, the newest scholarships have not been updated on that page, but you'll see there's a bunch of scholarships that range from about $5,000 up to $45,000 that transfer students can automatically be considered for, regardless of what institution that they're coming from. So take a look at that page, get a little bit more information about those scholarships that are open to all students. But you'll automatically be considered for that. And for the spring semester as well, you do have that opportunity to submit that aid appeal that Lisa mentioned as well.
So those scholarships that you're talking about, Nick, they tend to be at the top of the page. You'll find the transfer specific ones. If you go down, there's new first time scholarships, and then below that are the transfer specific ones. So I would tend to look at the ones at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like we have another one. Does the financial aid packages granted consist mainly of loans or grants? So like we mentioned, you can be considered for a scholarship from our office. So that would be included in a financial aid package if you applied for financial aid. So it's a combination. So we don't, our office doesn't deal with the FAFSA or creating a package for need-based funds. So it could be a combination of scholarships, grants, institutional monies, and possibly loans, depending on each family's situation. So it could be a combination. If you have questions on your need-based funds, then you would direct those questions for the financial aid officers. Again, we will help students with the scholarship funds.
One other thing, just to very quickly note as well, is for admitted students, once they receive their financial aid package, they'll actually get in their application portal a button where they can register for a one-on-one meeting with their specific financial aid counselor as well.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate you giving us time today, and we look forward to meeting each and every one of you. You will have in your portal who your admission counselor is, but we're all happy to help you. So, please reach out. No questions too small, and good luck in the process.